Perfect. Let's begin. Episode 4, The Zapotecs, Watchers of the Sky approximately 700 BCE, from your documentary series, Whispers of the Ancients. This episode will explore the rise of the Zapotec civilization, their legendary city of Monte Albán, their early hieroglyphs and calendars, sacred tombs, and the rich blend of astronomy and ritual that defined their worldview. Whispers of the Ancients, Episode 4, The Zapotecs, Watchers of the Sky, approximately 700 BCE, Script Segment 1, Into the Hills of Time narrated with intentional pacing. Open your eyes and lift your gaze to the mountaintops of Oaxaca, where clouds drift low over stone, and the horizon curves like a serpent of time. Here, 2,700 years ago, visionaries chose to build a city in the sky, not for conquest, not for gold, but for alignment with stars, with gods, with eternity itself. They were the Zapotecs, sky watchers, timekeepers, silent architects of one of Mesoamerica's earliest great civilizations. This is their story, told not through conquest, but through stone, shadow, and starlight. Segment 2, Birth of a Civilization. Before the rise of Monte Albán, the Zapotec people lived in scattered farming communities throughout the valleys of Oaxaca. They grew maize, beans, squashed the sacred trinity of Mesoamerican life. They fished the rivers, tended the hills, and watched the stars. Somewhere around 700 BCE, something shifted. A vision was born, a call to the heights. A mountaintop claimed sacred. Silent was chosen, and slowly, with stone and spirit, they carved a city from the very bones of the earth. Monte Albán. Segment 3, Monte Albán, City of the Clouds. Monte Albán rose like no city before it, built atop a flattened mountain peak. Surrounded by valleys and sky, it became a ceremonial and political center for centuries. There were no rivers, no farmland nearby, only stone. And yet tens of thousands came, lived, worshipped, traded, under the watchful eye of their priests and the infinite sky. Its grand plazas, its stone platforms, its observatories spoke a language of precision, where architecture met astronomy. This was a city that didn't just live with the heavens, it spoke to them. Segment for calendar. Keepers and astronomers, the Zapotecs were masters of time. They created calendars that tracked celestial rhythms, the solar year, the 260-day ritual calendar, the cycles of Venus, like the Maya, whom they would later influence. The Zapotecs believed time was sacred, circular, eternal, divine. Their cities were aligned with solstices and equinoxes, temples marked the path of stars, and every ritual, every offering, was timed to cosmic harmony. The priests were astronomers, and the Skya codex, a prophecy, a mirror of the gods. Segment 5, Writing the Sacred. One of the greatest Zapotec legacies is their early system of writing. Carved into stone stelae, etched onto temple walls, were glyphs, symbols of rulers, gods, dates, and rituals. Some believe this is one of the earliest writing systems in Mesoamerica, possibly predating even the Maya, though not fully deciphered today. These glyphs whisper of dynasties, offerings, battles, and sacred events. They weren't just records. They were voices of ancestors captured in stone. Segment 6, Tombs Beneath the Earth. Eyes toward the stars. Beneath the sacred plazas of Monte Albán lay hidden worlds, tombs, carved with patience, painted with meaning, guarded by gods and jaguars. Here, Zapotec nobles and priests were buried with treasures, ceramics, gold, jade, incense burners, and the bones of ancient animals. Death was not an ending. It was a passage, a return to the stars, from which all life came. The Zapotec dead were not mourned. They were revered, consulted, entrusted with secrets, and remembered in ceremony. These tombs, with their complex designs and murals, offer a glimpse into an afterlife ruled by cosmic forces, where ancestors became celestial beings. Segment 7, A Civilization of Harmony, not conquest. Unlike some later empires, the Zapotecs were not defined by war. Yes, there were skirmishes. Yes, there were signs of defensive walls and warriors etched into stone. but their legacy is not one of conquest, it is of continuity. The Zapotecs built a civilization that endured for over 1,000 years through trade, marriage, ritual, and diplomacy. Their cities were not just centers of power, they were sanctuaries of rhythm. They traded with neighboring cultures, influenced and were influenced by the Olmecs, and eventually left their mark on the Mixtecs and even the Maya. Their story is one of resilience, not domination. Segment 8. The Donzontes, dancing stones or fallen warriors throughout Monte Albán. You'll find a series of strange, haunting stone carvings. Twisted human figures, eyes closed, limbs bent, mouths agape. They are known as Donzontes, the dancers. But are they dancing or dying? Some believe these were depictions of captured enemies, sacrificed, immortalized in humiliation. Others argue they represent spiritual trances, shamans in communication with the gods. Or perhaps they are both. For the Zapotec world, body and spirit were one. Death and dance were not so far apart. Segment 9. The long fade of Monte Albán. By 800 CE, Monte Albán began to decline. The reasons remain unclear. Shifting alliances, new centers of power, environmental strain, a change in the sacred calendar. What is known is that the great mountaintop city slowly emptied, not violently, but gradually. Its temples stood silent, its tombs closed, but its influence never vanished. The Zapotecs continued in the valleys below in cities like Midla. Their language endured, their rituals adapted, their spirit remained alive. Even when Spanish conquest arrived centuries later, Zapotec traditions lived on air in textiles, oral history, and resistance. Segment 10 echoes in the sky. The Zapotecs were not an empire. They were not conquerors. They were observers, recorders of time, guardians of sacred balance. Their greatest achievement wasn't a pyramid or tomb. It was a way of seeing the world, a belief that time was sacred, that the heavens were teachers, and that humanity had a place not above nature, but within its rhythm. Today, in the mountains of Oaxaca, Monte Albán still stands, worn, but not forgotten. And if you listen closely enough, you may still hear the hum of ritual drums, the footsteps of priests in procession, and the whisper of stars, as the Zapotecs once did. Watching the sky. Segment 11. Gods of the mountains and rain. To understand the Zapotec heart, you must know their gods. Their pantheon, rich and elemental, was deeply tied to the forces of nature. Chief among them was Cochillo, the god of rain and lightning, a figure of duality, giver of life through storms, bringer of fear through thunder. Cochillo was often carved with a jaguar's snarl, lightning bolts curling from his mouth, eyes wide as if struck by a vision. He was not alone. There was Kokwahani, god of light, and Pitaukazobi, lord of maize, the sacred food of life. Each god had a temple, a time, a ritual. The Zapotec calendar was not just to track seasons. It was to schedule the appeasement of gods, to maintain harmony between sky and soil. Segment 12. Society and class in the Sky City. Zapotec society was deeply structured, but remarkably sophisticated for its time. At the top stood the priest kings, believed to be divinely chosen intermediaries between the mortal world and the heavens. Below them were the nobles, warriors, scribes, astronomers, artisans. Then the farmers, whose maize-fed toil sustained the heights. Yet there was a balance. The Zapotecs didn't build oppressive monuments to kings. They built sacred geometry to time and cosmos. Even the tombs, elaborate as they weren't just ego-driven, they were portals, bridges to ancestral knowledge. Women, too, held power. Some were priestesses, some traders, some rulers in their own right. This wasn't merely a male-dominated world. It was a layered, woven society, like the vibrant fabrics they dyed from cochineal and indigo. Segment 13. The language of the ancients. The Zapotec language Dietza still survives today. Spoken in communities throughout Oaxaca, it is a living echo of one of the oldest linguistic traditions in the Americas. But it wasn't only spoken. The Zapotecs also recorded their world through logosyllabic writing, an early script made of glyphs combining symbols and sounds. They etched royal lineages, astronomical events, and sacred rituals into stone. In Middle, their later ceremonial center, walls were adorned with grecas, intricate, repeating geometric patterns symbolizing eternity. Earth and sky, their language spoken and carved was sacred. It connected the people to their past, to the gods, and to the very essence of time. Segment 14, the city below, Middle, and the afterlife. After Monte Albán's decline, a new sacred city emerged, Middle. But Middle was not built to look up. It was built to look beyond. Where Monte Albán connected the living to the stars, Middle connected the living to the dead. It became a necropolis, a spiritual portal. Its name, derived from the Nahuatl Mictlan, means place of the dead. In Zapotec, it was called Layoba, the place of rest. Here, tombs were more than graves. They were homes, beautifully decorated with stone mosaics and cosmic symbols. Unlike many ancient cultures that feared death, the Zapotecs revered it as transformation, not finality. Middle was a bridge between two worlds, where ancestors lingered and death danced in the patterns of the walls. Segment 15, the legacy that lives. The Zapotecs never truly disappeared. Their language is spoken by hundreds of thousands today. Their crafts, especially weaving and pottery, still thrive. Their calendars and gods echo through the rituals of modern-day Oaxaca festivals. Even now, some Zapotec families honor the Dia de los Muertos not just as a holiday, but as a living communion, a remembrance of their ancient ways. Anthropologists, astronomers, historians, they all look to the Zapotecs not just for ruins, but for wisdom. They remind us civilization is not built only on war or empire. Sometimes it is built on rhythm, on faith, on the slow, patient mapping of stars.